At this time, we are going to go straight into the opportunity before media now. Mitra, Kalita, our co-founder, URL Media, will be leading the conversation, along with Don Lemon and Kenya Parham. So without further ado, Mitra, stage is yours.
Mine's on. Can you hear me? Don, is yours on?
I can hear you. Am I on?
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Kenya, are you on?
Look at those sneakers.
Hello?
Oh, thanks.
Are we
I
good?
actually
Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
actually designed them on the Converse site, so just a plug for.
These lights are bright.
Yeah.
Holy schmoly.
Thank you. That was an excellent start to the day. I just want to shout out what we just saw. And there's a reason that we started by listening to Black women. We'll talk a little bit about that theme, I suspect, with our conversation right now. But as you saw, we actually dived way more into business models than I expected. I thought that was kind of inspiring. And so what we're going to talk about right now is the opportunity before media. And I have my former CNN colleague, Don Lemon, here. And then we have Kenya Parham from Spill, who we're super honored to be live streaming with, kind of representing the platform piece of this. I'm just going to give you a tiny bit of background so you know who you're about to hear from. And then we'll just dive right in. As was mentioned, I am the co-founder of URL Media. URL Media, as you all heard, is a network of 35 Black and brown media organizations. One of them is proudly, oh, thank you, Don, for, you can applaud for URL Media. Thank you. One of those partners is Epicenter NYC, which I co-founded with my husband, the artist Nitin Mukul, in 2020, the summer of kind of a lot of what we just talked about, the pandemic, the presidential election, and the racial justice protests. And we are based in Queens, so in case you're wondering what the heck does her shirt say, it says "She from Queens." I wear that proudly. And oh, thank you. There's some Queens in the house. And that's my background, but I was at CNN as my last big job for 5 years, where I worked with the illustrious Don Lemon. Don is a former anchor for CNN, the host of Don Lemon Tonight, and he later moved to CNN This Morning. Last year, he started the Don Lemon Show, which you can catch on many platforms. He'll tell us about that. I think it's important to note that he got his start in local television. We've talked a lot about the importance of local journalism in Alabama and Pennsylvania. He's a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which comes up a lot when you talk to Don. Yes, there's some folks from Louisiana. And he attended Louisiana State University and graduated from Brooklyn College. Kenya Parham is the Vice President of Global Partnerships at Spill. All of you downloaded Spill, I believe, because you're going to catch the live stream later, but just keep on and let your friends know about it. We're really, really proud to be partnering with them today. She has a background in strategic comms, culture, and brand. She led her own firm, which worked with major entertainment brands like Discovery, Lionsgate, Amazon Prime. We talked a little bit about some of the film and TV shows she worked on last night as we were getting to know each other. Super, super impressive background in narrative. She's also worked as a political strategist and fundraiser, including to Karen Bass, who's been in the news quite a bit. And I just want to acknowledge that Kenya joins us from Los Angeles, which right now to leave Los Angeles was no small thing. And we just want to say, we're with you. We're so honored that you're with us. Some of the work you've been doing, which I hope we dive into in the next hour, I know like where your heart is right now. And so we just want to say we're right there with you. And we're so grateful for that. She also attended Cal State Northridge. And so proudly, everyone on this stage is the product of a public university. Yeah. I attended Rutgers University. And I know that's not always common at the National Press Club, so we're going to take our flowers where we could get them. So, there's a lot of consternation, as I mentioned, over business models, mistrust in media. We're talking about the opportunity that both of you have seized. So I'm just wondering if we could kind of start with that journey. So Don, you and I both, we left the biggest of the big news outlet of CNN. It is the largest news website in the world. It still is, despite kind of the downward trend in news consumption. Tell us a little bit about the Don Lemon Show, and then we'll talk about how that's different from what you were doing at CNN. But just tell us what the Don Lemon Show is right now.
I feel like my life is a Don Lemon show, but which is actually kind of true because, and I'll explain, because thank you for having me, by the way. How are you guys doing? And is it cold enough?
I know.
Oh my gosh, I thought I'd say, I'm going south from New York to New York City. From New York City to DC, it's going to be warmer. No, it's not.
No.
So the Don Lemon Show is my show. It kind of says what it is, as they call it, the eponymous show. It's sort of what I did on CNN, but much more interactive with the audience. The audience actually gets a say in what I do. Sometimes, depending on the story, even what I cover. It is that. But it is a much more independent, much more authentic, no false equivalency, no normalizing, and meeting people where they are. And right now, in this moment, people want authenticity. They want an organization, especially news people, who are going to stand up and hold truth to power, which is our job, to cover without fear or favor. So it is a much more authentic version of myself.
You curse a lot.
Not a lot. Just like recently I've been doing, but not a lot. But
I didn't know the side of you before.
No, not a lot. But when I do, people pick up on it.
Yeah.
Right, because they're not used to it, and but I can give you 30 examples of people who are in conservative media who do it every single day.
Fair.
No one writes about it because it's not. First of all, it's conservative media, and they have a leeway to do pretty much whatever they want. So I don't curse a lot, but I'll watch it now because people think that I curse a lot, so I'm not going to probably curse as much. I'm going to do whatever I want. So that's what the Don Lemon Show is I do whatever I want. But the interesting thing is that I realize that I can have just as big an impact in a certain way without, all the sort of sheen of traditional media, meaning the shiny anchor desk, all the makeup and all the things that I believe that that comes between the public and getting to know the person and feeling a connection with the person. And I'll just real quickly, just to give you an idea, if you haven't seen the Don Lemon Show, which is on YouTube, you can become a member or a subscriber. It's free to become a subscriber. And it's on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. It streams everywhere all at once. When I started the Don Lemon Show, I went and spent all this money on a big set and camera equipment and lighting, and so I have a studio in Manhattan. And then I started doing the show a couple times a week, and I said, you know what? This seems very similar to what I was doing in cable, and I don't have a connection really with my audience. And just because I was a big deal in cable news, whatever, if you want to think that, doesn't mean that you're going to be a big deal in streaming. It's a completely different thing. Yeah. So I said, I want to have a connection with my audience. I want to be able to have them talk to me and I talk to them. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? Every day at 5 o'clock, in order to build this community, I'm going to do Lemon Live at 5. I'll do it from my home if I have to. I'll go live every day at 5 o'clock and just talk to the subscriber or potential subscriber. And I did that, and immediately it started to grow. Everyone on there says, we love this. We don't want you behind a set because that's what cable news is, and we don't want to watch that anymore. Look, I'm not disparaging cable news. They do a great job at what they do. But that's not what people want in this digital world. And they said, we want you to be able to know you. If your dogs come in the picture, that's fine. If your dog is barking in the background, that's fine. Yesterday during the hearings, I said, I've been streaming for 4 hours. I have to go walk my dogs. They said, great, leave the stream up and come back. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
And it is shocking and surprising to me. That's what people want, and they also want me out on the street talking to people, getting man on the street.
I was going to ask you about the length, because that sort of feels...
So that's what it is. It's an authentic version. It's me, basically in my environment, giving the news and listening to people around the world. That's it.
Before we shift
Giving
to
a voice.
Kenya, do you think you're a member of the Black press?
Yeah, I think I'm a member of everything. That's a very good question, Mitra, because I think during the election, the campaigns and the candidates didn't know quite what to do with me. They're like, well, is he a journalist? Is he a content creator? Is he a streamer? Like, what is he? And they sort of wanted to categorize it. And I said, I am all of those things. So am I a member of the Black press? Yeah. But am I an independent media personality or journalist or host? Yes. Do I have a traditional mainstream background where I can do that? Yes. So I'm kind of in all of these places, and I'm just wherever the people want me. But yes, I do believe that I am.
We'll take you.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that I'm Black, but I'm just saying. URL Media, as a convener of the Black and Brown press, I just sort of want to put that
But we
out
could
there.
use help. The
Yeah,
Black and Brown
yeah.
press can use help in this digital
Absolutely.
streaming world because we don't have the resources that the right has on this particular platform.
So Kenya, I want to shift to Spill. We've been talking about Spill. We're partnering with you today. What is Spill and why Spill?
We play spades on Spill,
I
by the way.
heard.
Okay, but anyway, go
I
on,
heard
sorry.
you guys- So I had never met Kenya before last night, obviously. And so Kenya says to me, well, I've played spades with Don Lemon already. And I was like, you guys should just take over the panel. And anyway, go ahead.
Well, firstly, Mitra, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you to URL Media for hosting this incredible convening. The conversations have been so rich, and I have been tapping into the Tea Party stream on Spill, and folks are enjoying and commenting, and so hey, Spillionaires, what's up? I love that I'm sitting next to my spades partner that helped me, maintain my crown status of on the spades table at Spill.
I'm good, right?
No, he's very good. I want y'all to know the game it was over an hour.
Yeah.
And it was during, we were here in DC a couple months ago
What was
for,
it for?
CBC, for CBC.
Yeah, Congressional Black Caucus.
Yeah, we were here, and Don was holding court at out, and it was so we have spades that you can play on mobile, on Spill. You can connect live video, live audio. So all of the favorite parts about tapping in and talking that talk. If you know that culture about spades, we were doing all of that, y'all. And had the chat flowing. It was great playing with, CEO of Spill, Fonz Terrell, and our editorial lead, RK Jackson. And that experience, was incredible because, we love meeting people where they are on Spill. Spill is visual conversation that moves at the speed of culture. We are redefining culture and connection in social. And building incredible community that is identity-based and incredibly authentic as well. We are an app that is available for public download on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and are still in beta. A lot of times people, thank you to the many journalists and from outlets in this room who have written about our rise and what we are doing at Spill. And because we have had so much press, a lot of times people think and forget that we are still a beta platform that is, working to actualize our vision of creating a safer, more fun, more enjoyable space in social for everybody. And a platform that is very serious about protecting the culture-driving communities that create the lexicon, drive the trends, are the sayers of what's hot and what's not. And while other platforms are, rolling back diversity initiatives and talking about being less committed to catching bad things, Spill is a platform, and you can look at our community guidelines. I encourage everybody to go to spill.com and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. You can read them for yourselves, where we are very serious about not allowing misinformation to run rampant on our platform. We are very serious about protecting communities that have historically been at the margins, that we know, again, are culture-driving communities. And we enforce these rules with not just technology, but also humans who are culturally competent and trained on enforcing these policies.
And it's fun.
It's
And
fun.
it's
I was
fun.
gonna say, and there's games.
it's fun.
And it's fun.
yeah.
Spill is a fun place, right? And we're bringing the joy back into social and finding a way also to have the necessary kitchen table conversations amongst our cultures that I think are really challenging to have on other platforms where we're quite literally defending ourselves and from being attacked every couple seconds.
So during the rise of social media kind of early, right, not the last 5 years, maybe like 10, 15 years, there was this question of publisher versus platform. Like, are you a publisher, are you a platform? It feels like Zuckerberg, Musk have kind of decided where they sit on that. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Dawn of, do you think Spill is a member of the Black press?
We want to be a platform. First of all, Spill is an app for the world, right? Spill is an app that welcomes everybody who is in alignment with our mission and message. We are a team that was founded by and is led by many Black executives on our team, but we welcome everybody who believes in the same things that we do, which goes back to the last point that I said. And we believe that by uniting under these community guidelines that keep culture-driving communities safe, that keeps everybody else safe. We also think that creates an incredible open space for journalism to thrive and for the exchange of fact-based ideas to sow seeds and spark discussion and discourse amongst the communities who need that real information the most.
Thank you, Kenya. So we're talking about the opportunity ahead. I just do want to spend a little bit of time looking back at the 2024 election.
Oh my gosh.
You want to hold hands? We can get through this together.
So how did you cover it?
How did I cover it? Well, what I love is that what I do now, it gives me a perspective and some time to reflect. I don't have to go on, and react immediately to, something is breaking. We have to be first. We have to get it on. And that's a great place to be because you don't really get perspective and nuance many times. And many times right in the beginning when something is breaking or just happening, a lot of times the information is not accurate. And then you find out and you correct and you move on. That's just the nature of the beast. But I found the best way to cover the last election was, again, always having a connection with the audience and the American people. And so during the convention is when I really started getting to, but before it was just sort of covering it. This candidate is doing that. During when the Republicans were out there doing their thing, Donald Trump was not on the stage. Look, there were lots of antics. You didn't have to cover it because I think most folks knew Donald Trump is going to be he's going to be the nominee. And because even he wasn't taking the other guys seriously. So that was all kind of the show that didn't really mean anything, but it was fun to cover.
Can I just ask you on that point, did that feel freeing? Because in the mainstream media,
Yeah.
they still had to kind of act like there was a process, right? There were still debates. He's not showing up at the debate, but everyone knows. By then, you were out, right? So
Yeah.
can you react?
Well,
is that more pragmatic in the way you're covering it, or is it?
It is more pragmatic because, look, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, if someone could have an accident or something can befall them, I don't want that to happen. I'm just saying anything could happen. And so you have to take it, no, seriously, I don't. I'm just making that very clear. You have to take it seriously, but again, you can also point out the odd nature of what is going on. And you don't have to pretend that, the frustrating thing for me was when I was in legacy media is false equivalency and having to give platform to people are lying and who are election deniers, who are insurrection supporters, who are basically exhibiting cult-like behavior, and they don't understand it. So I was just like, okay, I don't have to do that anymore. So yes, that was freeing. So in the beginning, you just kind of talk about the oddities of that. But then when it came down to where, everybody else was out, he became the nominee, and it was Joe Biden. Okay, so that was an interesting thing to cover because I don't know if people remember when I was in legacy media, I asked the press secretary, is Biden gonna be? And I think the White House banned me. I think they got mad at me for asking that question, which was a perfectly legitimate question since he raised the issue of his race in the in the first campaign, and then said he's going to be a transitional figure, and then indicated that he may not run again. So I thought that was a perfectly legitimate question, but they got upset by it, and then so you guys all know how that has rolled out. And so I kept that in mind as I was reporting on this and really having a conversation, a dialogue with the folks who tune into me. So finally, when we got close to it, the conventions happened. The Democrats invited me to come to the convention. They said, your voice is missing, and we need you to come and, do some reporting and just be a part of it. And I said, okay, but I don't want to just fly there and go from New York to Illinois. I said, I'm going to get in a car, and if you want me to come, I will do it. But I'm going to get in a car, and I'm going to go through swing states, battleground states, on my way to Illinois from New York, and I'm going to talk to the American people. I'm going to listen to the American people. And I did that, and you would have thought that I had invented something new. And it gave me an indication that people weren't actually discussing. Everyone was in their bubbles. So I went to the Jersey Shore in New Jersey, and I started talking to people. And the demographic, immediately I knew, the demographic that you thought were going to be supportive of either candidate wasn't necessarily that way. That people had other ideas. I had black women saying, I'm not voting for Kamala Harris. I had white men who looked like truck drivers and, everyday kind of dudes saying, I can't support him because he's a liar. And I was like, wait a minute, what is going on here? And so anyway, I went to the convention, they understood what was happening, but a lot of people were upset. The conservative press started calling me, can you come on, Fox News? Will you come on and talk about your interviews that you did in Pennsylvania and Ohio and whatever? And I did some of that stuff. And then liberals or Democrats started calling me saying, you're making us nervous. Are you curating these things? I'm like, no, I'm not curating. This is what the American people are saying. And so I covered it just by speaking to the American people. And then just before the election, I did another battleground state tour from Florida on up back to New York. And it was then that I knew that Donald Trump had a very good possibility of becoming president of the United States, despite what the polls were saying, just from what I was getting, and that college students were going to vote mainly conservatively for Donald Trump. And so how did I cover it? Just by talking to people. That's how I covered it.
I'm going to come back to some of the relationship that you have with them. Kenya, you're still in beta. The 2024 election, kind of what parameters did Spill operate under? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the beautiful part about being in beta tech and having grown the way that we did, and for those of you who are a little unfamiliar with our explosive growth story, we launched our Apple-only beta product, invite-only, in June of 2023, and within the first 30 days of our launch, actually within the first 2 weeks of our launch, we became #1 in the Apple App Store. Over 200,000 people found our platform by single-use invite code only. And I want y'all to understand that for a woman who came from, advocating on behalf of civic engagement, incorporation for Black, brown, queer communities, starting in LA County and then went national, knowing how much money it took to try to convince folks to vote, which is their civic duty, right, and right as citizens. I was amazed to watch how excited folks were to have an invite code to join Spill, and how quickly hundreds of thousands of people found their way to our platform. And so that really kind of kicked us off and helped inform, really shape and inform the product roadmap that we had moving forward. We opened up, and exactly the communities that we were seeking to center found us, right? And we were like, okay, well, we're onto something here. What was exciting for us is that we could also see that people wanted to have conversations and wanted to also have resources at their fingertips to be able to engage in their civic duty. And so it became an immediate priority for us as a platform to create a product inside of the platform or a feature inside of the platform rather, that centered those needs. And so we created a civic engagement hub that was available via a button in the top navigation bar on the main home feed, right in everybody's face, right? And we called it our Spill the Vote initiative. This was a personal project of mine, given my background that I was very passionate about. And we hosted links from iwillvote.org. Shout out to Beth and the amazing team over there for all the great work that they do. And users could tap on that button and see about 5 links where they could type in their address to check what was on their local ballot, have a link to be able to know what their voter rights were. So we had members who were holding their phone with their spill voter rights, with the link from iwillvote.com with their voter rights in hand while they were in line at the polls, which was awesome. And then it also gave them an opportunity to, again, see what's on their ballot and see things from a local and national level. It was, and make their voter plan. And so we thought that that was really important to host that. Obviously recognizing that we are an app that is available for the world. We have a large amount of users that are US based, and that was a decision that we made while other platforms were creating, stickers that you could put into your story. We wanted to put that right in everybody's face, right? Here is a suite of tools that we wanted to make available for people to do so. And I'm so grateful that Kerry Washington, who is on our cap table, partnered with us to do a Spill the Vote Tea Party, where we then took it a step further and talked to folks from all around the country about their experiences, what mattered to them most. Kerry was like, Kenya, I'm trying to hear from people directly. Exactly what you said, right? So we hosted a live stream tea party and heard from first-time voters, new citizens who come from immigrant families, to folks who had been systems involved and are now community organizers working on the ground in Pennsylvania. Shout out to the One Hood team, One Hood Media over there, and as well as mothers who were very passionate about reproductive justice and what was going to be available for their young daughters who were on the live stream with them, right? It was an incredibly moving and impactful an event that spurred from our Spill the Vote initiative.
And Kenya, did it feel, I don't want to frame it as like an echo chamber, but did it feel left-leaning, or is the sentiment that Don is talking about kind of that he got on the ground of, oh, it's a complicated picture? Like, did the election results reflect some of those conversations in terms of the ultimate outcome, but also was it a Trump versus Harris conversation, or was it more rooted in, for example, some of the issues that you're talking about?
This was a primarily policy conversation. Okay. However, the policies of both candidates at the time were so. We good?
Sorry about that.
Don't.
Right.
No, I mean, spill it, but don't spill it. You know what I'm saying? The policies that were represented by the two candidate choices at the time were so vastly different that I think it was very clear that the members on platform at Spill had very big concerns about things. We have a platform that is majority women, and for our platform, reproductive justice was a very big concern. Student loans and the ability to buy a house for the first time was a very big issue for our young folks and college folks who are on platform. Issues around U.S. Diplomacy and issues around Gaza were also a very big conversation that people did express as well. And folks are very informed. Spill is an app of very informed, civically engaged people who are connected to their communities on the ground. And it was enlightening for all of us. I think it pushed us even, behind the scenes to say, well, what else can we do to continue to foster conversations like this and continue to create a safe environment where these conversations can happen? Because every single day this happens, right? Whether it's talking about on a high level, what folks are making or cooking for dinner, we know that there's cultural insights in those conversations. There's cultural practices that exist in those conversations. And as we get into, kind of the lower layers of it, there's necessary exchanges that need to happen in terms of being able for everybody to feel like they can participate in a world and that is shaped and formed around their exact needs.
Can I ask you something? So
Sure.
was there diversity of conversation? Were there people saying, you know what, I'm not sure about
Yeah.
Kamala Harris?
Yes.
Yeah. And
There
did
was-
you get an
there was
indication
diversity.
of, and I think that probably, as we listen now, as we're doing this, Gaza and Israel, that there seems to be a ceasefire agreement, at least on the table. But that was a big influence. That had a big effect on the outcome of the election, especially among young people and people of color.
That was a large issue on platform, and the billionaires who are in the Tea Party right now, I know, are holding me accountable. This is an active conversation, and not just around the election. Let me be clear. This from day one, members who joined platform were very clear about the issues that matter to them most, and engage in active discourse around holding the public officials on local, state, and national levels that are from their communities, holding them accountable to what they've said and engaging in discourse amongst each other that I think helped better inform. We have this kind of motto on platform that is, we debate ideas and not people. And so having a healthy, safe environment for folks to engage in discourse where rules are enforced, community guidelines are enforced to keep folks safe while engaging in that discourse. Again, like I said, I think elevates the roots of the problem and I think creates consensus in a way that helps us see the humanity in each other.
I think this safety is important, and actually for both of you in the discourse, because I feel like Spill, like similar to URL partners, like we're united in service to our users, right? So voting will be with an eye towards how do you vote? My polling site is 90 miles away. How do I get there? There's like a real how-to of our media, and I appreciate that your platform is leaning into that. The safety of your users in that process, and it came up for us in the election too, where right before the election we had to have conversations with our partners about keeping yourself safe online, your users. I mean, it's a constant. So that feels centered. And then Dawn, if we could kind of pick up the thread with you, when I watch your show, people are just like talking to each other, to you. I mean, and so this notion of civility and discourse, and even the word civil can be very loaded right now. And
Yeah.
I just wonder how you're thinking about some of those issues.
Yeah, it depends on what you think of civility. I don't think civility means, I don't believe in fake civility. So I'm a bit different, right, than your platform. I don't like people to come in and just intentionally insult people, intentionally to be trolls. I invite everyone from every single background, if you are, regardless of your political background, ethnicity, race, gender, or whatever, to come in and have a conversation with us. You can be honest and authentic. Okay.
We do the same.
Okay.
We invite everybody to come in as well.
You can be honest and authentic about how you feel, but just try not to insult people, right? But I think the trolls affect the algorithm. As a matter of fact, they help the algorithm because they are joining, right? And they're joining, but so I don't like to block people, but if you can silence them for a moment or say, look, don't do that in the comments, then yes. And I'll actually try to mediate or moderate between folks
I've noticed
if you've
that,
seen
yeah.
that. But I believe it's in having conversations with people, but not intentionally insulting people, and people don't even realize sometimes when they're insulting.
You can pick up on that, yeah.
So, we agree, Don, and I think you've experienced that from being on Spill as well too, right?
Yeah.
Trolling is against our guidelines, very clearly. Harassment and bullying, against our guidelines,
Right.
100%. We have a zero tolerance policy for that. And even go even more specific to say, dead naming, right? Specifically against the guidelines.
Just explain dead naming,
Right,
in case someone
dead naming.
doesn't understand.
For members of the LGBTQ community, right, and our trans community members, calling somebody by a name that they do not identify under anymore, that act is called dead naming. And that is actually written in the community guidelines that I wrote for Spill. So we're very serious about that, right? And that goes for also public figures, right? Who, too, we defend them even though they may not be on platform. And we're very serious about that. But the thing that I need everybody to understand, what Dawn was talking about, trolls feed the algorithm. Spill doesn't have, this weird algorithm that you need to work around that is programmed to hate, to fuel hate.
To platform or...
To platform hate, right?
Or not to platform it, but to amplify.
To amplify it, right?
Yeah,
Spill,
yeah.
that doesn't exist on Spill. There is no algorithm that you have to work around. You don't have to use these weird hashtags in order to amplify your voice to be seen. There are 3 different feeds and everybody sees everything, right? Everybody sees everything, everybody sees everyone. And then you have from there the ability to curate your feed in what's called My Brew. We love a tea analogy, y'all. I can't get enough of it. To be able to say, okay, well, this is the main global feed. My brew is kind of consisting of the people and things that I'm the most passionate about. But again, uniformly, zero tolerance policy on trolling, on hate. And quite literally will remove accounts for doing so, and we do it all the time.
Good for you.
Right, because it gives you, if you're like, for example, on X, you have an outsized view of polarization sometimes just because it'll feed you the fights, right? So like in the Indian community recently, you would think like everyone was against H-1B visas, which probably on X they are, but like that just kept coming in as a way to polarize.
We're okay with differences of opinion.
Okay,
We
so that is
appreciate
okay, but you're not
discourse.
feeding that up intentionally to
Absolutely not.
make me almost like move into one camp or the other. I'm just trying to make sure
Absolutely.
I
we're...
love that you said that. I love that you said that because when I had a conversation around that and said that, and I called out the people who were being racist and bigoted online, and it made it seem like I was saying, all Trump supporters are, don't understand these things, and it's not. I'm talking about the bigots, the racists, or that all Trump supporters are racist. I don't believe that. But if you look at it on certain platforms or through certain media, this is Don Lemon called, Trump supporters or MAGA people idiots. I didn't. But the people, let me be clear. If you're a racist and a bigot, then I believe you're an idiot, right? For doing that. If you're a Donald Trump supporter, I don't necessarily believe that you're an idiot. But for people who did not understand that we need immigrants and are having a rude awakening now, that we need immigrants in our society, that you cannot deport millions and millions of immigrants and migrants because it would crash the economy, then there is some naivety or ignorance around your knowledge of what happens in America.
Go ahead.
And I think the presence of trusted community voices who are also members of the press, like the Phil Lewises of the world. Phil has been on the platform for since the beginning, since the initial boom, right? And the community leans in and is excited about his, breaking news, but also helps to validate again as a center of truth around, what are the actual, how are we feeding information from, mainstream media, and how does that get broadcast into, what matters most to the community? And, it is fair to acknowledge, right, that there is a distrust in legacy media right now, with all due respect to the people that are in this room.
Yeah.
And that I think it's time that we acknowledge that, community media matters a lot, right? And it does. Community media matters a lot. And Spill is a platform, as we are helping to redefine and reshape discourse, healthy discourse and exchange around policies and issues that matter most to Black, brown, queer folks, to women, to to mothers, to business owners, right, to the culture-driving communities domestically, particularly in the United States and also around the world. That community media and trusted voices matter a lot, and the platforms that are legacy media platforms. And I think it's a call to action for journalists as well to think about, and you've kind of leaned into this as you've gone independent, right? Don is a trusted voice. And so, when that trusted voice is kind of separated from a legacy media platform where there are questions about the direction of that, and the trusted voice comes on platform and engages in discourse with folks, that's where I think we can find it kind of
And
engage.
interestingly, people trust you more as you're engaging with
Isn't
them,
that weird?
right? Yeah,
It's so weird. I love everyone. Every day I love the new version of Don Lemon. You're free now. And it's really weird. I was like, well, who was I before, guys? But they just didn't relate because I wasn't as relatable. I was always authentic, but there were certain things that you couldn't do, you couldn't say. You had to be conscious. You represented, which quite, fairly. I represented an institution, 3 big letters that were trusted, and I represented 4,500 people around the world, and we had people in war zones and whatever. So you had to always be conscious and aware of that. Now it is just me, and it's like, here's who I am. And the interesting thing, you said that I curse a lot, but the conversations that we have with our friends, over breakfast, over dinner, in our homes, is quite different than a conversation that you're going to have when lots of people are watching and you represent. So this is my conversation that I'm having with my community, right? My folks. And so I feel freer to be able to be honest, to be more honest. And maybe I say something wrong and I go, I didn't mean to say that. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Or maybe, but you have the leeway to be able to do that without everyone going, oh my gosh, you got to come up to the big office and talk about it, rather than saying, these are the conversations that we should be having. This is how Americans speak. No one needs to get canceled here. Understand that no one is perfect, and let's all be in this together and try to figure it out. But everyone is so afraid of brand safety. Okay, I understand that. Everyone's so afraid of, well, we have to treat this group this certain way or this group a certain way, and we're afraid of what advertisers are going to say. And it's just like, oh my gosh. For journalism, it's frustrating and it's concerning because you wonder, where is the real, am I getting the real thing? Or are they saying what the folks who are above them want them to say or will allow them to say without damaging a relationship that can affect their business?
So go ahead.
Interesting that you say, I love this conversation so much, y'all, and I wish I had the Tea Party in front of me right now because I know they are going off in the chat. There's a place on platform, if you tap the top search bar or top search module, it opens up and it's called the spill board. And this is where kind of the top trending spills hit the spill board, and they rotate and refresh a couple of times a day. And there was a spill that hit the spill board, I think yesterday or the day before, that talked about how someone loved the fact that spill is a place where accountability happens.
Yeah.
Right? Where folks can say, you know what, thank you for checking me on that. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In fact, you were talking about the LA fires. My community is hurting right now. My county is hurting deeply right now. And there are members who do not live in the state who, at the time of the fires first starting, when they first erupted around Tuesday, Wednesday of last week, decided to post something on platform talking about, the incarcerated individuals who are firefighters who are online, and a member who was on platform who works with systems involved folks on anti-recidivism issues spoke up and said, one, I work with these populations, so while you're not in my state, I want you to know I work with these populations. And two, many of the folks that I work with are actually grateful for this program. And while we can talk about, the need to pay them more, this was on the ballot last November, and you weren't talking about that last November. And so if we want to talk about increasing the pay for these folks, we can talk about that. But while my city is burning, I need you to understand that a post like this is not helpful for me. And I watched that discourse happen between two members on platform, and they were okay, y'all.
Yeah. So
okay.
I love it. I love it. So let me jump on this. A very similar thing happened. This is so to have that conversation, if you're in legacy media, is everybody has a meeting, and they go, and it's like a, how do I say this? Like turning a cruise ship around, right? Or going from an old gas model car to like we're in an electric car age. So the thing would be like, we're getting complaints, or let's all sit around and talk about this, and someone would say, well, we're not covering this aspect of a story. And then it has to be filtered out and produced out, and then show gets it and all of this. These things happen in real time in what we do now. So that same conversation happened on my platform in real time. They were talking about the folks. I said, the folks are fighting out there, fighting fires, such and such and such. Look at what's happening. And not just a reporter going out to interview them, like a real conversation or stumbling up on them. A real conversation happens around that. This is good for them. Many of them, not enough, get out and they get gainful employment as firefighters, possibly. And they're working on legislation now to try to make sure that that happens and so that they are paid more. Okay, however you feel about that, that conversation happened in real time in a similar way on my platform. Another thing that happened, someone checked me because I hadn't thought about it, and I'm not a California person. And they said, I have this tier, I have memberships, and one of them is called the Lemon. It's the Lemon Heads and the Lemon Legends. And the Lemons, yeah.
Which one is better?
The Legends, the higher,
Okay.
and it's a higher. You pay a higher thing, but you actually get to be on the screen, and I interview you, and you speak to me, you talk to me, you check me in real time, right? And so I was on. We were talking about it, and one of the Lemon Legends said, "Don, when are you going to talk about Altadena?" And I said, you were right. And I said, I didn't, I forgot Altadena. I'm not a Californian. It is a historically black neighborhood. And immediately in that, we started talking about Altadena and how it is not getting the coverage that Pacific.
So they directed your news
They
agenda.
directed my news agenda in real time rather than having to wait for the
great.
morning meeting.
That's great.
And then someone is assigned the story, and then it gets on the air 1 day or 2 days later. It happened in real time.
Right before we came in, the new publisher of the Haitian Times, Vanya Andre, are you out here? I just want to shout you out. There she is. Okay, so Vanya says to me, oh yeah, she's great. We can applaud the Haitian Times and Vanya. What a year they've had, really. So she said, look, we picked up on Haitians leaning towards Trump, but how do I cover this so that it's not tokenizing this group in some
Right.
way, or it's not saying like, oh, Haitians are also voting for Trump. And so I want to ask both of you, because you're in spaces, and Don, I mean, you're controversial in the black community, you're controversial in the white community. Like, how do you capture that our communities are not monoliths, but these nuances within? How would you, maybe you could take her specific question, but also how you've navigated that. And then I just want to pick up a little bit on how Spill is kind of fostering some of these conversations as well. But
The
go
weird
ahead.
thing, Mitra, is that like to be honest and to have real conversations and to say what's on your mind is somehow controversial. And you're right, I am controversial, but I don't know why am I controversial? Because I say things that other people are thinking, but they're afraid to say, or I actually try to foster real conversations and it becomes controversial, or I don't necessarily think the way that people think that I would think because of whatever demographic I might be, or wherever I might live, or whatever my socioeconomics are, or whatever. I think that's what a journalist should be doing. And it should not be controversial, but you're right. And what that says to me is there is a need for authenticity and a need for people to actually do the job, the actual job of journalism. So how do I navigate that? I got to be honest with you, it's not easy. And when you're someone like me, there is no roadmap. So I created my own sort of, I charted my own territory. And it's tough because I'm human, but I try to ignore it and just to continue and move on, because one day people are after you and then 10 minutes later they're gone, right? It's over, and then it happens again. But every time something has been deemed controversial that I have said or done, I'm just telling you guys, the people catch up with you. Like it comes around. Like I said something back in 2013 about what we should do better for our communities, or about sagging your pants and all of that. And now everyone is like, back then it was like, what are you, conservative? You're a preacher. And now people are like, where's the lie? He's right. So people it will catch up with you. So everything I've always said that people were deemed controversial, they wanted me to get fired, they thought that I should be disciplined, they thought that I should, be canceled for it. It always comes around. The culture somehow always catches up with you when you put yourself out there and you are just authentic and you're saying it or doing it not out of malice, but because you want people to hear it and you want people to have a dialogue about it. And even if you are wrong, you just say, you know what, okay, I was wrong, or I'm sorry, but I don't see where that's controversial. But I navigated by I guess, by the grace of God, and I just say, but I've gotten some gray hair for it, even now that I'm in independent media. It ain't easy, it's tough.
Turning to Trump 2.0 and sort of this question of how platforms and publishers will respond to coverage. Kenya, I don't know if do you have a plan for how the next 4 years will shift Spill? Does anything change? Are you redoubling down on anything, recommitted? How are you going to do this?
I feel the beams of pride as you're looking at me. So listen, Spill is ready and prepared for a time such as this. The problems that have plagued legacy social media around misinformation and disinformation are not new. This is why we started building immediately when we did. I want to salute our co-founder and CEO, Alfonso Terrell, who was the outgoing global head of social and editorial at Twitter and was relieved of his position when Musk took over the platform, bought the platform, November 4th of 2022. By December, Fonz had a wait list up for the concept of Spill. By January, we had secured our first over $1 million in VC funding, which I have to state is incredibly unusual and not common for Black-owned startups. So I want to thank all of our funders, Kport Capital, Sunset Ventures, Collide Capital, Mac Venture Capital, who is our leading LP. We have like the progressive Black and brown Avengers of VC who came to the table to say, we believe in wanting to create and foster a safer, more fun, more enjoyable place in social that believes in not promoting misinformation and disinformation and protecting the communities that drive culture forward. And because of that, we're here to continue our mission. And we'll continue building and actualizing thereof. And the media partners that we've been monetizing with since day one, we had our first media partner from a media buying agency before we even launched an Apple App Store, also stand behind us with that as well too. While people are afraid to kind of say the things and do the things, Spill has been unapologetic and has been monetizing with major media brands since day one because of that. So we'll continue to do that. The more people that join the platform, that join us in this mission, the faster we can actualize that goal and that vision. And I'm here to share with this room that keep your eyes peeled on Spill because we have some really exciting announcements that are coming in the next week. For the community to have an opportunity to really link arms with us. Wink, wink, nod,
Yeah,
nod.
we're going to wrap up, Don, but I wanted you to talk about three things. Whatever you're about to say, Trump 2.0, and she mentioned Elon Musk, who you have some personal experience with. I just want to ask you about Mark Zuckerberg's announcement last week, which honestly didn't feel that different from the Facebook we've been seeing, but whatever, it was an announcement and it's like staking out what we've been talking about. Just thoughts on Musk, Zuckerberg, Trump 2.0, and what you're about to say. And look at this line of people who are going to come after us.
I know, that's why I said, can I say something? Because I knew like it was almost over.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I don't want to talk too much. I think you guys kind of understand what's happening with the whole, Twitter and X of it all. And I'm in active litigation with him, so I don't really want to talk much about that. But let's just say that I went into that with the best of intentions, and it's unfortunate that it didn't work out because I did want to get in there and fight and try to help to make the platform a better place, at least with whatever influence the way that I could do it. And I think that he realized that because, if I say boo, everybody writes about it. And so I think that's why he wanted me to be on the platform just for that, or just because of that. Not just because of that, but one aspect. So so Mark Zuckerberg, I have a problem with anyone who does not believe that, especially in this environment where people are getting their information in large part through social media and digital media and what have you, that someone wants to get rid of fact checkers. Facts are important. Like truth is important. It's even more important in this moment. I also think that the American people, rightly so, should be concerned about having a couple of rich folks having so much influence in social media, digital media, and without the sort of antitrust of it all, and just because we know that these platforms can help to determine elections, it helps to determine public sentiment, it helps to determine political and influence, I should say, political outcomes, policies, and all of that. So I have an issue, obviously, with that. Now, what I will say is that if you are in this room, or anyone who's in the sound of my voice and Kenya's voice, these platforms, the kinds of platforms that we're on, and those of us who are like us, don't necessarily get the support of the folks that the big guys like Zuckerberg support, that those guys, or the Joe Rogans of the world. We don't get that support. And so it's important for you to support independent media. It's important for you to support platforms like that, because we just don't get it, because those aren't the voices, I believe, that they want amplified. And in order for us to gain a space or a foothold in this new digital independent territory, we need your support. So go and subscribe to The Don Lemon Show on YouTube. Go to YouTube at The Don Lemon Show and just check it out and support us. And the other thing is that when you say the Trump 2.0 of it all, I think we're going to be okay if we do those things. It's going to be a tumultuous, I think, 4 years, but it's going to be similar to something that we've already experienced. And so keep your peace. You don't have to, here's my mantra. You can be informed without being inundated. So you don't have to sit around all day checking your notifications every time someone tweets something, go, oh my gosh, this person tweeted this, what does this mean? It's not the end of the world. Control what you can control, and that's your peace. You don't have to sit around with the television on all day, and what I call it, whether it's fire, tragedy, porn, and sit around and be inundated and take that into your spirit. Whenever you want to engage, you can check out the news when you want. You can support independent media. You can go to places where people give you a voice as well, and they treat you and respect you and your intelligence. And so that is my final words to you.
Thank you. We're going to let that be the last word. I just want to thank Don and Kenya for this great. The good news is there's no break. The conversation continues with the news that you should be listening to that will bring some peace, I think, with our next panel and the subjects that many of our URL partners are reporting on day in and day out. Also, the good news is you're going from one moderator of Epicenter NYC to another. Fami Redwood is about to take over. She's the editorial director for Epicenter NYC. If she had a t-shirt, hers would be "She from Brooklyn," but we're going to forgive that. Thank you so much for being such a great audience.